Hello and welcome everybody to Wealth is a Team Sport Live. If you're new to this guest show interview spot we do, you are most welcome. I believe that one of the most valuable gifts that you can give yourself is peace of mind by learning from other people, thinking bigger thoughts. Life is hard enough. And so any pearls of wisdom we can gather that makes everything easier. So we are going to ultimately today be talking about some things that retirees should be focusing on and looking at that. But I just wanted to take a minute to welcome everybody to get a sense of what this show is about. I always interview a interesting and unique guest, and today we're going to be interviewing a fellow financial expert. And this is one of the things I love is I believe in the world that there's enough to go around. And so I'm really happy to talk with one of my peers in this business because he's got a lot of great insights. And I find like I learn something from everybody all the time. And it's going to be a really good show. One of the interesting things that you'll find too is we have so many things in common. So for those of you out there listening, the more you get to connect and build relationships with people and find people that you trust, you just never know which part of your life it's going to help expand. And today we're definitely going to hope that you walk away with some good questions to be thinking about in terms of your finances, because I think, money isn't a be all end all of itself, but when you have your money situation in hand, it helps reduce the stress and let you enjoy all of those other things. So Dale, I just want to say welcome, and then I'm going to jump in and read your bio. But Dale, how is your day going so far?
It's going well, very well. Yeah, it's been a very beautiful day here in Kentucky.
Awesome. Yeah, it's that time of year. I love that.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm coming to you from Germany, and it's beautiful here too. There's lots of trees and birds and water and all that good stuff.
Well, we
Okay,
appreciate
so let me just take a minute here, and I'm going to read Dale's bios so that everybody knows who we're dealing with. He is an awesome and talented person. So Dale began his career in the financial services industry, working for a corporate financial advisory firm in late 2008. And, you may recall, kind of like now, that it was a very volatile time in the stock market. And it really helped shape the philosophy that he uses at RDS Wealth. So, Dale's got a philosophy that's grounded in experience, and that's always a great thing. So, Dale understands that every individual deserves a personalized plan for retirement, and that many people, by age 60 or 70, are kind of looking more for preserving what they have as opposed to making more in returns. You've arrived, so let's protect it. And so this is why Dale built and trademarked his firm's planning process, the Retirement AtlasTM. So he's got a trademark process, and I love that about it because it's solid. So Dale was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and raised in Lebanon, Kentucky. He moved to Campbellsville to study for his undergraduate degree, where he double majored in biology and business with an emphasis in finance. So right there, I love it because I also majored in biology and I got a master's in MBA talking about finance. So after completing his master's degree in business administration with an emphasis in economics, Dale obtained his Series 7, his Series 6, and began providing just comprehensive financial planning to his clients. So shortly after realizing that high level of need and the complexity in the advice for those people who are planning for retirement, Dale started specializing in retirement income planning and went back to school to obtain his RICP designation. So although Dale has achieved many awards and accolades from around the country within the retirement planning industry, he often says that his greatest achievement is when he can help one of his firm's clients achieve their own financial goals. Mm-hmm. I love that. Just helping one person is enough to make it all worth it. Yeah. So Dale views himself and his firm as a partner for their clients to lean on in this journey throughout retirement. So Dale, I love that. So, just welcome to the show tell us a little bit about yourself, because that bio is just packed full with, you have some definite core values, I think, that really influence who you are and what you do.
Certainly. You mentioned the preservation of capital, I think is one of the biggest things that if a retiree is listening to this, especially right now, is top of mind. The ability to make sure that they're not losing the money that they need. I mean, many of our people that we talk to have been working for years to get to where they are, sacrificing, having went through 2000, then 2008. Those two major downturns, which are typically the most recent, and whenever we think about major downturns, it, unfortunately for the last decade, we've kind of lost track of what the market actually can do. And within the last 6 months, it's slapped a lot of people around. And so we see a lot of people that are
Right.
coming to us saying, Dale, I just can't stand to lose this money. And what our firm is able to do is to be able to help establish an income plan. And once your income is secured, which I suspect we will talk a little bit more about, we call that your paycheck money. And we're borrowing that from a gentleman named Tom Hegna, who is very famous in this industry, has wrote a book called Paychecks and Playchecks. And we love thinking of that money as our paycheck money, and the other money that we have in the market as our playcheck money. And at this time in the market, what's going on in the market, that type of philosophy holds true, and it gives a lot of people a peace of mind. And that is one of the best things that we see when a 65-year-old husband and wife skip out of my office. I know I've done something right.
So, yeah, so I love that, Dale, and I like that balance of I call it your safe money versus your growth money. How do you feel like, though, reading your bio, you started out in a more large corporate kind of environment, and then you've started your own business. How do you feel like that's changed how you're able to take care of your clients?
Oh, that's a really good question. So on this side of the business, on the advising side, if you really think about it, each of us had, especially now if we're doing comprehensive planning, we all had our start in either the insurance side or the assets under management side, which is kind of talking a little bit of the jargon. I know the listeners don't care about the jargon of finance, but there's either the asset gatherers that want all your money in the market so they can charge a fee or a commission. And then you have the
Mm-hmm.
insurance person who says everybody needs an annuity. And those things, they're two ends of the spectrum. And what we end up doing is most of the time, one of us or some of us end up kind of migrating to the center of the spectrum. And the ones who are on the
Right.
stock market only side, they just have a really hard time implementing the insurance in their plan. But once they buy into this holistic plan, they see what insurance products can do for a retiree specifically. And then you've got those who, like me, start on the insurance side, and the stock market's the devil. And to be honest,
Right.
that's probably who we talk to most. Our demographic feels as if the stock market's just a game. As a matter of fact, I had a client once tell me when I was in the insurance side, because I started out with a big corporation, big box firm, purely insurance, and for the first couple of years, I sold insurance. I mean, it was the vice grips of the toolbox, right? It can do everything. You can
Mm-hmm.
twist things, you can pull things, you can beat on things. It does it all. And what we found is that some of our clients liked that talk whenever we talked about safety and the security of an insurance product. And I had a client tell me she thought for years that when they rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange and everybody clapped, they were just celebrating because they had taken all of her money. Like it was just a big party. We're taking money. But what we find, at least from the advisors that I speak to, is from coming from this big corporate insurance focused corporation, and then even in that corporation, navigating to more of a comprehensive, holistic planner, but still being insurance heavy, and then only A shares to offer the client. By moving to a comprehensive independent model, it allowed us to truly shop for our client. We were on the same side of the table as our client, as opposed to selling them something or a transaction based relationship. It truly was a relationship. It wasn't, I can only make money on you if I sell something to you. Now it is truly, when you do well, we do well. And that is a huge improvement. I know for our business model for sure, but also for the clients we work with, transitioning them, because we did take some clients from the corporate book over to this new independent book, which we partner with some of the major TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, Fidelity. We partner with these companies to allow assets to sit on their platform, and we just have discretion on their assets. And by doing that, we don't care if you take ABC Mutual Fund or XYZ Mutual Fund. we get paid the same way. We don't care if we buy an individual stock or we're trading futures. We get paid the same way. And the reality is that aligns our interests with our clients, and they see it. I know they do.
I love that. And, kind of the way that I talk about it is when I sit down with the client, I love that we're on the same side of the table. I'm just here to educate you. And I talk with people. I'm like, you're the salesperson, because I'm going to explain to you all the options and how things can work together and how that supports your goals. And you're going to tell me what makes sense for you.
Certainly. And, like
And
you said, coming from the corporate side, understanding what a plan can do, I think, is a big thing. Being able to say, hey, we've got the planning background, we've got the understanding of truly putting a plan together, as opposed to just throwing all the money to market and hoping that things work out in the end.
Oh, I'm here in Germany right now doing some reserve time, and we're looking at some planning. And of course, we're dealing with, millions of dollars It's close, just on decisions. And you know what? We're stewards of taxpayers' money. You don't do that without a plan.
True. Very much.
You don't. So why would you not take as good care of yourself as you would, as I do for the government? So it's really interesting. So, one of the things I really liked as I started this business and kind of got into it is it's really about people first and taking care of people. And I feel like your core values really drive how you take care. And some of the core values I really like started with me in the Air Force, of like integrity first and service before self and excellence in everything you do. What is it for you that kind of drives you as some of your core beliefs that you really feel help infuse that value and integrity into your business?
Right. Well, my dad probably can attribute a lot of my success to my father and my upbringing. When I was a child, he would always tell me, that you're only as good as your word, and we had biblical basing for that. That a good name is rather to be desired as great riches. And so
Mm.
there is this idea of obviously a Judeo-Christian belief system that I have been instilled with, and when you do things, do it heartily as unto the Lord. Those are just some really strong core values that I was instilled with as a child. I pull on a lot of my dad's teachings, a lot of my father's upbringing whenever I'm doing this. As a matter of fact, I got into that corporate job, 12, 13 years now. I got into that corporate job because my father was a very high producing agent for that position.
Mhm.
And he kind of brought me under his wing and taught me the insurance side. And I realized, Dad, there's a lot more to it than just selling people life insurance. And so we began to talk a lot about the holistic approach to retirement planning. And I would bounce things off of my dad. And I've always treated my father as almost a business partner, although he is not necessarily a business partner. But my father's always been kind of my guiding light and my North Star. And of course, he's pointing me to Christ, my belief in Christ, my belief in grace and mercy. And to be honest, we're not even worthy of what we have here. Those things are my core values. And when we talk to a client, I think it's important to hear them, to understand them, and to be able to truly
Mhm.
embody them and put yourself in their position. As a young man, not yet 40, I think it's a benefit because we have the ability to be with a client not only while we're planning, but even through their plan. But you'd be surprised at how many people, even in my generation, and definitely in the generations beneath me, they lose this ability to connect with people through the spoken word. And if it's not in in a tweet, or if it's not in a video, it tends to not connect with them for some reason. So being able to have this personality, this ability to be able to see people, hear people, and honestly be able to feel their pain and feel their fear helps a great deal in this industry.
I love that. It's putting people first. And that was one thing that I wanted to talk to with you about next is, we connected because I published a book, and the author guidance that I got was it's people first. You're talking to that individual.
Mm.
It's not about what I have as an author to tell them. It's about what can I do that's going to help them, and
Right.
not about me and what I want to say. And I love that. So I know that you're in the progress with your book. Can you
Yes.
talk with us a
Yeah.
little bit about, what's your book about and what are you hoping to help? How are you
Oh, man.
hoping to
Yeah.
shift someone's world?
No, I'm more than happy to talk about it. So hopefully by the end of the year, our book will come out, and it's actually going to be called Save Money, Plan Well, and Live Happy. So save money, plan well, live happy, and the goal is for this book to essentially be a guidebook. Now, what's funny is I was always counting this as a guidebook, and then I spoke to Wade Fowl, who is a genius in this industry, and he actually just published a retirement guidebook, and he goes deep into the weeds on everything you need to know about retirement. This is more of a holistic 30,000 foot overview. You should be able to pick up this book if you're 20 years away from retirement, 5 years away from retirement, or 5 days from retirement. And you should be able to read the first 2 or 3 chapters, just an introduction about what retirement is and how you should be thinking about money in retirement. And then from there, be able to go to the chapter that pertains to you. So it's going to be a 12 or 13 chapter book, but ultimately you could read 5 of those chapters and get what you need. And honestly, I think the goal is to be able to get that in the hands of someone who is about to retire and say, we need to make sure we have everything buttoned up. We need to make sure that we have your paychecks in order. We need to make sure that we know how we're going to invest your paychecks. What about long-term care? What about Medicare planning? All of these things that have to come into place. And then once they're done reading that book, to be able to pass down to their kids. And then their kids can read the exact same book and get something entirely different out of it because their section pertains to 10 to 20 years from retirement. And then they be able to hand that book to their kids, and then their kids be able to take something because it's 20 years or out from retirement. And everyone has something to be doing towards that end goal of retirement. And if you think about it, retirement kind of is a westernized idea. I mean, it wasn't always
Hmm.
the thing. 2,000 years ago, who thought of retirement? You worked until you couldn't, and whenever you couldn't, your children took care of you. Well, that just doesn't happen
Right.
anymore. And even the westernized idea of retirement has changed in the last 40 years, where back in the day you worked enough time and your children didn't take care of you, but the company that you worked for did. They sent you out the door with a gold watch and a pension. That doesn't exist
Right.
anymore. And so what we've got to be able to do is take on this as a responsibility to ourselves to say we are going to establish this plan for ourselves, and the quicker we do it, the better off it's going to look in the long run. In that book, we also talk a lot about the offense and defensive side of retirement planning. We all like to talk about the offense, and that's how much money can I make? How much money am I going to have whenever I retire? How much income is that going to be? But especially those who are 10 years or more from retirement, you got to really think about defense. And that defensive side is a lot of stuff that's based in insurance. Make sure your health insurance is in place. Make sure you've got disability insurance, because one of the largest assets you possess is your ability to generate income. And if we don't have that asset anymore, our entire picture looks different. So a little bit of planning in advance can make that all secure.
I love it. So, one of the things I like to talk about in my book, Money Moves, is starting out to understand what your vision is, your why. What is it that you're making money for? Is it for your family? Is it for your hobby? What is it? What is it all about? And I know that you're in the process of pursuing your private pilot's license. So, talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh man, that is that's a task in itself. Actually, just text my CFI, which is my instructor, probably a
Right?
few hours ago, and I'm set to fly today. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry for being such a bad student. I've just got so many responsibilities. I said, if I were one of my team members and it took me this long to learn the things that you're trying to teach me, I'd probably already fired myself. So I apologize, but there's just so much to juggle, and it is life and death. And he's pushing me and saying, "You're ready for next step," and I'm saying, "No, no, no, I don't know everything there is to know about this step. Like we can't go to the next step." But it's been an amazing ordeal for me, and honestly, something I've wanted to do since a child. The freedom, the ability to get and go anywhere you want to go, and really not have to ask anyone. That's pretty impressive for me. But what's funny is as I take these lessons, it seems as if I'm in retirement planning mode all the time. And as I take these lessons,
Right.
I hear and see and feel things that remind me so much of a retiree's journey. And when you're young and just starting out, just point it in the right direction and go. You're gonna fly. Like it's inevitable. It's built to do that. Point it in the right direction and go. But as we made our pattern and we're reapproaching the runway, there's a lot of things that have to go right for you to land on a wheel that's this big. Like there's a lot of stuff that has to go right. And that is where I feel like we deal mostly with those retirees that are close to retirement, 5, 10 years or fewer out from retirement. And that's just there's a huge parallel between that. You've got to make sure everything is just right. You've got to make sure that you know where you're going to land, how you're going to land, how fast are you going, do you have enough gas? I mean, we talk about gas all the time for money and
Yeah.
the ability to maybe translate that for a client. Because to be honest with you, Tara, and you know this, a lot of this stuff is just so complex. And if we can't make sense out of this information, it's never going to help our clients make dollars. And that's ultimately what we're here to do, is to teach them. And man, it's a humbling experience to be in the seat of the one being taught. And I have definitely entered that world as I pursue my pilot's license. And I'm sure you could teach a lot of things to me as well in the pilot's side of things. You're a phenomenal pilot. And again, thank you for your service. I said that at the beginning. I don't know if you heard, but I knew you were in Germany for your reserves. And we as a country are indebted to people just like you. And I appreciate that.
Well, it's, I love doing it. So thank you for that. So I wanted to carry that thread through though. So you're taking the time to do this really cool thing, learning to fly and putting yourself out there in harm's way. How do you deal with your clients and give them that permission, right? Because people kind of get to retirement and they're worried they don't want to run out of money. And of course, we don't want them to. But sometimes it's hard to give people to give themselves permission to enjoy a little bit of that nest egg that they've worked so hard for. How do you have that conversation with people?
That's so true. I think it all starts with that first consultation of how do you manage money? What's your philosophy on money? The last thing we want a client to do is to live a what if retirement. And we talk about this what if retirement all the time. And it's, what if the Fed chair raises interest rates another 2%? What if the market crashes another 20%? What if China goes to war with Taiwan? All of these things are what if, and I can't spend my money. I've really wanted to join the country club. I've really wanted to buy the boat. I've really wanted to tour the world, but I can't spend my money. So what do? They live this what if retirement. They don't spend their money and they don't spend their money and then they don't spend their money and then they die. And guess what
Right.
happens? The money goes to the kids. And what do? They join the country club, they buy the boat and they tour the world. That's not what we're into this thing for. Like, we're saving money for us. And so one of the things that we provide with the peace of mind is this paychecks and playchecks mentality. If we can secure your paychecks, and we know that that's not contingent upon market movement, that money is there. And the rest of this money truly is, like you call it, I think you call it your safe money, and what was the other word that you used? The safe
Your
money.
growth account money, your growth money.
The growth money is the money that if we see an RV, go buy the RV, tour the world.
Yep.
I've had several conversations in my office, and I say, look, go spend this money. Why have you, especially coming off this most recent bull run that we've had in the market, why have we not spent this money? Why are you not taking a trip? Why are you sitting in my office today as opposed to on a beach somewhere? So in our conversations, typically we'll ask, what does a perfect day look like for you in retirement? What does a perfect day in retirement look like for you? And they'll paint their picture. Who's there? Who have you brought with you? Who are you making pay their own way there? Like, all of this thing, I want it to be a perfect day. Paint that for me. And then once we get that picture, our goal is to make sure that you have more of those perfect days this year than you did last year, and more the following year than you did next year. So it's just this stair step where if we can truly secure paychecks, the rest of this money truly is yours to spend. And then you've got people who say, well, I really want to leave some money behind for my kids. And that's fantastic. This doesn't always work out. As a matter of fact, especially in this demographic, it's difficult from time to time. But as a theory, I say spend your money and leave your kids life insurance. It's tax-free. It's tax efficient. If you can buy life insurance for the fraction of the cost of what you would have to set aside to make sure they have 200, 300, or $500,000, you can for a fraction of that cost, a lot of times we can allocate money to say, we're going to spend your account down to zero, theoretically. Doesn't have to be, but it's okay if your last check you ever write in your life bounces because your kids are getting $500,000 of tax-free money. That's a pretty powerful position to be in. If you build a plan, theoretically, if you build this plan properly, it can happen.
I love that. And I do that same thing. I call it your permission to spend strategy.
Love it.
Because that's one of the things I love about financial planning. And I suspect, Dale, that's one of your things is it's fun that it doesn't always have to be an either or question.
Right.
And it's so fun when you can sit down with somebody and go, you have done an amazing job. And let me just show you some things that you can do that you might not have even considered.
So true. Empowering them to spend the money is huge.
That, and then showing someone they can spend the money and they can still leave a legacy. A lot of times they can do both.
That's so true.
That's exciting when you just like, oh, let me show you this. You got to see this. This is so cool.
And, what's funny is sometimes as advisors, we get so worked up. I know I'm a big fan of the building of the plan, right? I'm an engineer, financial engineer. Woo, I'm building this plan. But the reality is sometimes we get so excited about it that it almost sounds too good to be true. It's like we're selling them something. It's like, I don't know about that. And we end up wanting more than
we're all a little bit of a geek in this.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Great.
So Dale, just share with us how people can get a hold of you so they can keep track, especially when your book's going to be coming out. What's the best way for people to check you out?
Perfect. So we're actually underway right now with a major website revamp. So if you get on there and some links don't work, I apologize, but hopefully very soon all of those will work. We have some calculators and that sort of thing. And then of course we will also launch our book on the website, Amazon as well. And that could be another 6 months. I've got a little bit of work to do. Once I've nailed down my pilot's license, the next step is to finish the book. But the book is going to be a huge thing that we're hopefully going to be even promoting elsewhere. So on channels like this, may even come back on this podcast with you if that would be allowed. And then,
of course,
to get on our website, I think that's probably the easiest way to get in touch with us. It's rdswealth.com. So our firm's name is RD Smothers Wealth Management. As a matter of fact, my father's name is Roger. My name is Roger. I'm a junior. So Roger Dale Smothers, Jr. So rdswealth.com will get you to our website. And then from there, you can contact our team. You can link to our podcast. So we have a podcast called The Retirement Matters Show. The Retirement Matters Show is on Apple Podcast. It's on Spotify. I think it's on Google Podcasts. It's all over the place. It kind of, we put it in one place and a lot of places pick up that show. But I know on Apple Podcasts, you can find it just by typing in The Retirement Matters Show. Traditionally, we'll have guests just like yourself, who I think your podcast is set to drop in a week, if I'm not mistaken. And, people that are in the industry, we have, again, saving money, planning well, or living happy. It's going to cover one of those three topics: saving more money, planning a little bit more efficiently, or just living happy. So we have a guest that I'm super excited about in a couple of weeks, who's going to be talking about owning your dash. Revolutionary concept. I've heard of it before, but never really talked to this guy about it, and it just blew me away. You have everyone on their tombstone has 2 dates and a dash, and the reality is life is all about that dash, and it's just a notation on the tombstone. It's the birth date and the death date, and it's about the dash. You got to own the dash. Fantastic podcast. We're excited about that one. But so I think podcast is a great way to just at least follow us through on our philosophies and what we talk about. Then jumping on our website would be a good way to get in touch with us if you want to talk to us directly.
All right. So I love that. And then for everyone listening up, I would encourage you to check out Dale. He's a person that I have on my list of people that I really like, because he's about the people first. He's about building trust. He's about connecting, because the money will take care of itself. What's important is tailoring it to you, making something that works for you. And it's all about finding that advisor that you connect with. And so that's why, I love it. Dale and I can exist in the same space because different people are going to connect with us, and it's great. And so I love that. And Dale, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to your book, and I'm going to be a big supporter when that comes out.
Thank you.
And yeah, so much fun. And, I'm just really glad to have had you on the show, Dale.
Yes, sir. Likewise. Tara, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate your time. And I thank you for allowing me to talk to your listeners.
Of course. And so everybody, remember, you can share you can share it with your friends on social media. And I look forward to having a great conversation with you next time.
Yes, sir.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good one.